Hello artists, today I am going to teach you how to draw a tree. We are going to be making a YV tree together. But before we can do any of that, you should start by putting your name on your piece of paper. So I wrote my name in the top corner there, and then I just flipped mine over. The very first step for doing a YV tree is we want to create the trunk of the tree. So I do that by just doing a curved line that goes up straight and a curved line that goes up straight. They don't actually have to be totally symmetrical because trees aren't perfectly symmetrical. Trees are from nature, so they're kind of random, they're organic. Then we can keep that line going up, and if you want to, stop wherever you feel comfortable. I'm about halfway up my page here. I want to use the top half for the branches that come out. So I'll give people a chance to get to about there, and then I'll keep moving. Now the reason this is called a YV tree is we start with a Y shape. So I just took those kind of where I stopped. I'll put little dots there just so you can see it. And I went out in a Y shape. But it doesn't quite look like a Y yet because I also need to put this V in the middle. And that's kind of how we get that name YV. Okay, so that's the main part of my tree. And now from there, I just keep that same pattern going off. I have my Y. I'm going to create a Y with a V in the middle, a Y with a V in the middle. I'll show you a couple in regular speed, and then I'll do a time lapse to speed it up. So here we go. Every branch splits off into a Y with a V inside of it. And if you're doing this the way that I'm doing it, you should notice that your branches get a little bit skinnier with every YV that you make, and that they multiply. Okay, so I started with one Y. Now I have two that branched off of that. Now I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 that branch off of that, and you'll keep going until we probably get off the page. So I'm going to time lapse that drawing. So that's kind of the basic way to do this. Now I'm not worrying about any of the stuff on the top yet because we're actually going to be adding leaves later. You could keep this going until they basically just turn into sticks, which is actually probably what I would recommend. Or in some of your cases, you just keep going until it goes off the page. And you see that these are starting to crisscross and run into each other, which is actually a good thing. Oops, that one kind of went a little funny. See, I don't worry too much about getting this perfect because I also know that some of this is going to get covered up when we do our leaves. Okay. Now the other thing you can do is, if you wanted to throw in a few extra branches kind of back down in like the main body of the tree, you can do that. You could have a branch coming out here. Well, that's another thing I could have talked about. I've been doing pretty smooth lines, but you can make your tree look kind of gnarled by using like a wavy line. So the YV is just the start, and then from there you can kind of use your own artistic eye and make it look how you want, okay? I could also throw another branch in here if I wanted, right? So you get the idea. I'm gonna give students just a little bit of time to start drawing their YV tree. The other thing you can do when you're finished is you can add some sort of a ground line to it. Doesn't have to be too detailed. Maybe you want to throw some of the tree roots in there. Maybe the tree roots are covered up by grass, right? That part's up to you. Take a little bit of time. Start by writing your name on the back, and then try your best at drawing a YV tree. Now, some of you have maybe practiced this before. For some of you, this might be your first time ever trying something like this. It doesn't matter if you do it perfectly or not. What we care most about is that you're trying your best. Time to pause the video so that students can begin drawing their YV tree. Okay, now that you've had some time to draw your YV trees, the next step is to add a little bit of color. You can use a colored pencil or you can use crayons. Eventually, we are going to be using oil pastels to add our leaves though. So you're actually going to color everything but the leaves. So if your tree looks kind of bare at this point, that's okay, that's a good thing, all right? So here we go. I'm gonna time lapse this. Okay, so there's my initial round of coloring. Again, you'll notice that I haven't actually put any leaves on because after you color this with colored pencils and crayons, then we'll switch to oil pastels. And I'll just say this, I actually love coloring with crayons. I think it actually looks great if you use a mixture of both because you're gonna get different textures and different line qualities with colored pencils and crayons. And I mean, like I was able to do the sky within seconds in real time because I just used the side of a crayon. So sometimes kids are like, oh, crayons, I don't want to do crayons. Crayons are great. They're one of my favorite drawing and coloring tools. So with that being said, you can take a little time to finish drawing your YV tree if you need it. You can take some time to start adding some color using colored pencils or crayons, and you don't need to worry about the leaves yet if you don't want to, because we can add those on top with oil pastels in a few minutes. Pause the video so that students can color in their drawing with crayons and colored pencils. Okay, and now it is time to add some leaves. I'm choosing fall colors for my project, but that choice is yours, however you want to do it. I'm using the oil pastels, so I just took the colors that I needed and I put them in my dish, and then I'm just going to try to speckle and dot leaves all over this. I wouldn't be concerned with you getting a perfect leaf shape when you draw these. I'm probably going to do dots, speckles, smudges. We're really just trying to get some color on it. Remember, when people look at your art, they don't put their eyeballs right up to it. They usually look at it from a few steps away from it. So people will not be looking to see that you have an exact perfectly drawn leaf. Instead, they're going to be noticing the color and the general shape of all of the leaves together. So here I go. Pause the video so that students have an opportunity to color leaves using oil pastels.